The mid to late 90s saw a revival of the super spy archetype in Hollywood, with films such as GoldenEye and Mission Impossible reviving classic franchises for the modern age. A curious mixture of intense action with traditional spycraft, they often managed to feel both extremely modern and charmingly anachronistic at the same time. The age of spies had come again, and Sega clearly noticed. Taking advantage of the renewed interest in espionage, they took a genre they had plenty of experience with and set to work. Featuring a Hollywood-esque spy theme and gameplay reminiscent of other Sega classics, Confidential Mission seemed like the perfect opportunity to expand Sega's staple of excellent light gun experiences. Unfortunately, the game was hamstrung by dwindling interest in arcade attendance and a Dreamcast release late in the console's lifespan. Confidential Mission was a game that truly deserved better. The Dreamcast library was extremely deep, with many genres well represented, despite the relatively brief lifespan of the console. There were not a lot of light gun games, but the ones that were there ranged from good to genre-defining. From the excellent version of Virtua Cop 2 to the incredibly memorable House of the Dead 2, the Dreamcast provided players with an excellent arcade-at-home experience, assuming they had the right setup, of course. Confidential Mission neatly fit into the Dreamcast library, with many players having already invested in light gun controllers and setups. The initial arcade release of Confidential Mission in 2000 was on the Naomi hardware, so a flawless Dreamcast port was on the cards from the start. When it arrived in 2001, however, the Dreamcast was clearly coming to the end of its commercial lifespan, and this likely held Confidential Mission back from being as popular as it should have been. The game is a pretty obvious homage to modern spy films. After terrorists from an organisation called Agares capture a satellite, the Confidential Mission Force sends in two of its top spies. For legal clarity, that's the CMF, not the IMF. The spies, Howard Gibson and Gene Clifford, are smooth-talking, lethal operatives who carve their way through an onslaught of terrorists in a not-so-stealthy assault on various locations until they are able to confront the head of Agares.
Looks like the work of Agares.
That's how they operate.
It's over, Agent Gibson!
Along the way, there are explosive set pieces, desperate showdowns, and plenty of one-liners. It really does feel like you're playing a summer blockbuster. In terms of gameplay, it only takes a moment to see which Sega franchise Confidential Mission draws inspiration from. In many ways, this feels like an unofficial spin-off of the Virtua Cop franchise. There is a similar targeting system, the camera moves in the same deliberate manner, and there are even justice shots for well-aimed attacks. There are some slight twists to the formula, such as minigames where players use gadgets, but at its core, Confidential Mission feels like a Virtua Cop game in a mask. This is not to say that this is a bad thing, though. The gameplay is polished and easy to get to grips with, allowing you to appreciate the trappings all the more. And what trappings they are. The game doesn't push the hardware too much, but it looks every bit the arcade port you'd expect. The models for both the enemies and the player characters look great, with bright colours and smooth animations helping to bring everything to life. The environments are also nice to look at, though they can feel a little sterile at times compared to other light gun games released over the following years. The lack of interactivity comes with benefits though, as it makes it even easier to keep track of the enemies and keep the gameplay flowing smoothly. The music is also extremely well done, featuring jazzy melodies that sound like they came straight out of a 007 film. They managed to tread the line between feeling classy and energetic, complementing the action perfectly. Finally, the voice acting is pure light gun goofiness on the level of the House of the Dead games. Of particular note is the voice for Howard Gibson, purveyor of not-so-smooth one-liners.
Who are you?
Howard Gibson, CMF secret agent. We haven't got time.
Those dulcet tones sound familiar, right? It's none other than Mr. Barry Burton.
You were almost a Jill sandwich.
Confidential Mission is a Sega light gun game through and through, with bright graphics, hilarious voice acting, and a relentless pace that keeps the player engaged from beginning to end. The core game is short, but the Dreamcast port brings a lot of extra challenges and post-game content to extend the lifespan. This is the kind of game that's worth a trip to your local second-hand shop, tracking down a compatible CRT TV, and dragging out the light guns for a weekend. A decent martini on the side wouldn't be a bad idea either.